Hello, everybody. It's Soup and Slide Watch Formula One. I'm Soup. That's Slide. We're here for round 12 British Grand Prix this weekend. Qualifying's on Saturday at 10 a.m. our time. The race is on Sunday at 10 a.m. our time. I should say my time because we're actually in different time zones.
Local times.
Right. So
yes.
It's been a while. Have we gone 2 races without doing a podcast?
We missed the doubleheader, yes. Basically.
So Austrian Grand Prix. Let's go back in time. Let's take a little trip back in time.
We technically missed the Canadian Grand Prix as well. So it was then a week off and then the Austrian. So,
I thought we previewed the Canadian Grand Prix. I think we did.
We didn't. You're correct. We did not, but we did not recap it because of reasons.
That's right. We did have reasons. So the Canadian Grand Prix, George Russell takes home the gold. He finishes first, if I remember correctly. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it did okay in the Austrian Grand Prix. It was hot, and we know the Mercedes doesn't operate as well in the heat. So he did okay.
The Ferraris, which is not good.
And yet George Russell, who has a win, and I think he's had 6 or 7 podiums this year.
Many podiums, yes. He's podiumed many times.
He is going into next year with no contract yet. And why is that? Why is that he does not have a contract?
Well, he's also number 4 on the driver's standings. He's only 9 points behind a Max Verstappen, who is probably the reason he doesn't have a contract at this point.
So open talks right now. I mean, it's been rumored for a long time, but finally now there are reports out where they're saying, yes, everyone has acknowledged that Max Verstappen is talking to Mercedes. So the question is, George Russell won't have a contract next year. My question is to you, if George Russell doesn't have a contract and Mercedes signs Max Verstappen, who is their team next year? Is it Max and George, or is it Max and Kimi?
I think it's Max and Kimi.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
Especially the more I think about it, the way Max reacted to what happened to him in the Austrian Grand Prix
is like whatever.
Kind of leads me down that path more, because if it was George,
he would have lost it. Yeah,
it would have been a totally different scenario.
Does Max Verstappen get any satisfaction? Because him and George Russell have had beef in the past, even though I think they're actually just fine with each other. But do you think he gets any satisfaction out of possibly taking the seat away from George Russell?
Probably. I think he's a little. I think that yes,
it's a little vindictive. He's got some Jos Verstappen in him.
I think that the entire grid likes taking the piss out of George Russell.
You think so?
I think everybody does. I mean, if you go back to last year when they did the driver's dinner and it was in the middle of,
and they made him sit next to him.
They all put him next to Max, and Max was like, ah. I mean, I think everybody enjoys just taking him down a level.
It kind of seems like George Russell's irritated by it, but Max Verstappen just gets a kick out of it because honestly, Max Verstappen seems like the nicest person. When you see his when he's not irritated with people.
I know, from my days long time ago playing hockey, there were some of the nicest guys I would talk to off the rink, and when they were on the rink, they were absolute demons that you didn't want to mess with.
Cases,
and it's there's just some of those guys when they turn it on, it is on, and he is definitely one of those people based on radio messages and everything else that you see when he's in the car, right up to and including
the red mist.
The fun and exciting thing, I believe it was the Canadian Grand Prix that he kind of went after. Was it the Canadian Grand Prix? Which one did he run into George in? Was it? Maybe it wasn't Canada. It wasn't Canada. It was before that. It was the race before Canada.
Spanish would be before Canada.
Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah.
That's when he that was an interesting dilemma. In the Canadian Grand Prix, the only thing that got ran into were groundhogs. So
that's true by Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Sir Lewis Hamilton took
Unfortunately,
out a PT. R.I.P. Groundhog. Totally misted a
yeah,
groundhog at 200 miles an hour. I
yeah.
don't want to watch. I haven't seen a video of it, but I don't think I want to see that. I don't
I
think
don't
that's
think you can
something.
tell.
Oh,
I
really?
actually don't
You
think
think
you
it
can
just
tell. It's
it
that
just
they
demolishes?
they didn't. I didn't see any. It was an onboard of his, and it's so blurry that you can see what's happening. So they don't. I don't think they have a camera on that area of the track because it was like going under the overpass at the Canadian
Oh,
Grand
well,
Prix.
he's got his driver
So
cam. So,
that's what I'm saying. The driver's cam you could see,
oh,
but
I
it's
see.
not. It's going so fast that you don't see anything. Basically,
You
you're like,
keep
oh, there's a blur, and then it's gone.
you keep moving out of frame because I have like part of
Really?
your. There you go. Oh, you're perfect now. Mark your mark your stuff. Stay in frame. If you lean to the
I
side, because I have us both split now. I
I
have a
got you.
different screen.
Well, I
So
can't see the video, so it
I
makes my life
know, I know,
difficult.
I know, I know, I know. It's okay.
Um, so speaking of winners and losers from the Austrian Grand
Austrian
Prix,
Grand Prix. I mean, the Canadian Grand Prix, it happened.
yeah,
Let's I'm trying to
it's been
think,
a minute.
like, I'm trying to remember if anything, like, really substantial happened. Like, I
Other
have
than
such a short-term memory on that.
no, I mean, well, okay. So the only other substantial, so there's two things,
There
in
is
my opinion.
something now that I remembered. Yeah.
There is. This is. We had the first instance of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris going mano y mano,
Which we predicted
and
on this podcast, by the way.
we
In
did.
our preview, we mentioned that at some point they're gonna come to blows, and it's probably gonna be this race, and it did.
And they definitely did, and they definitely Lando definitely screwed up. Like
He did
no
screw up.
doubt. And
Yeah,
he admitted it immediately. It was definitely not good. Um, and I think if he stays in that, they're basically nearly level on points at that point, I think.
yeah. If he would have stayed in
Um,
the race.
so
So that happened
it,
that was really the big news from the Canadian Grand Prix.
I would say the only other, and I would be just to drive us into the Austrian Grand Prix, is the lack of form of Williams and the increase in form of Kick Sauer.
Nick
Because
Sauber is definitely have an increase in form. But
yeah,
also, I did fail to mention, we both failed to mention that Kimi Antonelli podiumed in the
I'm
Canadian
sorry,
Grand
that's
Prix.
correct. That is
That's a
important.
big deal. Third place, and it's what's he, like, the third youngest to podium in F1 or something like that.
Yes,
So
after Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll of all people.
yeah, really, Lance Stroll is one
Yep,
of
you
the
didn't know that. He is the
no.
second youngest person to podium.
That's incredible. So yeah,
It
that's
is.
the Canadian Grand Prix. Austrian Grand Prix, a great battle between the McLarens. A great battle between the McLarens.
A
Conversely,
beautiful
we have
battle.
two of our podium finisher. Or was Verstappen on the podium in the Canadian Grand Prix?
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought that he was. I thought it was Kimi,
No.
Verstappen,
It
and
was two Mercedes and Oscar Piastri.
that's right. So we have in the Austrian Grand Prix at, I think it was turn like
Oh
3 or
no,
4. Turn 3.
I'm sorry, I am completely wrong. It was George Russell, Max Verstappen, Kimi Antonelli. Oscar Piastri was in fourth.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Because Lando
I'm
was
sorry.
fighting him for fourth position. Yeah.
Yep, it was
So
for
yeah,
fourth, and
Verstappen. So
Oscar
we have
Piastri was coming up. He was catching up to Kimi, and it was
that's right.
nerve wracking for Kimi.
Because
So
McLarens did not qualify well at the Canadian Grand Prix.
no, they
So at
didn't.
the Austrian Grand Prix, we have two of those podium finishers wrecking into each other. Well, really, one of them wrecking into the other one. So Kimi Antonelli,
Yeah,
like turn 3, it was early in lap 1.
it was.
Just going too hot into a corner, and
Well, he had to avoid Liam
Lawson.
Lawson.
Yeah, he had to avoid
And
Lawson,
he ducked inside and then locked
locked
up
up,
his rears
and just
and went right into him. Like,
destroyed Verstappen. So
yeah,
they're out of the race, which is interesting. And Verstappen, like you already mentioned, just totally cool with it. Just like, it's fine, no big deal.
it
It
happened.
happens. It's a race. That's what happens in a
Yes.
race. So didn't
And
even care.
Kimmy did the "I'm not taking my helmet off forever" thing. He walked around with his helmet on until he basically afterwards, and they did the media stuff at the end. So
The
he
poor
was
guy was
pretty beside
embarrassed.
himself.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
then Mercedes is kind of nowhere in that race because of the heat, we think. And Red Bull is essentially out of the race because continually we see that Verstappen can deliver in the Red Bull and Tsunoda cannot deliver in the Red Bull.
Or in fairness to Tsunoda,
nobody can, right? Nobody can, which brings up some interesting discussions. And I also think some scary discussions leading into if Max Verstappen ends up at Mercedes, because they've built this car for Max Verstappen. Is Max's style of driving a sabotage for his
everybody else?
teammate?
Yeah.
I don't want to see that happen to Kimi Antonelli, because I think he's such a talented young driver, even though he wrecked out at the beginning of last race. He's a rookie. We knew that was going to happen at some point. He makes mistakes, but he's going to be a legend. There's no doubt about it.
There was a podcast sometime this week with Checo on it, and Checo kind of opened up about things. And I think he said something to the effect of, and I could be getting this wrong, I have to go find the podcast, but that Christian Horner told him that if we could run one car, we'd only run one car.
Oh, wow.
Type of thing.
Like you're just here because you have to be, basically.
Basically. And this was like 2020. It wasn't anytime in the recent past, but he said that was said to him at one point. So,
But is Max Verstappen a good enough driver that if Mercedes says we're a team, you're not the only driver, we're going to be building this car for two drivers, can he adapt? And still, I think
the difference is it's the difference between Toto Wolff and Christian Horner as team principal. I think Toto Wolff will go, no, man, we're going for the Constructors Championship. We need two drivers. You can't win it with one, really. You need to actually have two. We have to do something for both of you guys. And the thing is whether or not Kimi Antonelli... Well, first of all, it's a question of regulation changes and everything else are going to just... Who knows what's going to happen next year.
Right.
Like, it's
and
just,
that may have a lot to do with him being in discussions with Mercedes. Maybe he believes that Mercedes is going to take a step forward with the regulation changes, and with all of the exits, Jonathan Wheatley, Adrian Newey, from Red Bull, does Max Verstappen think that Red Bull is falling off the radar here as a competitive team in F1? And it's interesting because as they fall off, Racing Bulls seem to be picking up the pace. Racing Bulls, Lawson finished his best sixth last week. And we all know that Isaac Hadjar is just one of the best rookies out there this year. So he's just been doing a bad race.
So Austria was not good for him for some reason. He just couldn't get it together. But in general, he's been points.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Although he didn't really do that great at the Canadian Grand Prix as well. But he had a run of form there for a minute. And I'm sure he'll get back to that.
But the Racing Bulls seem competitive, and they are more competitive as a team than Red Bull. Would it not be interesting if the Racing Bulls finish ahead in the constructors of Red Bull by the end of the year?
I mean, don't get me wrong, that would be interesting. I don't think it's possible with Max Verstappen driving.
It's probably true.
Realistically, because I believe, so let's look at the points for a second. Racing Bulls have 36 points. They don't
just do a full recap of the points. Let's talk about where we're at.
So going into the British Grand Prix, at the bottom we have Alpine with 11 points. We have the surprise Kick Sauber with 26 points, where everybody thought they'd have 0 at this point. Realistically,
not me.
Yeah, all right. Well,
I believe in them.
I think that, so going up to the next one with 28 points is Aston Martin. 29 points with Haas is in 7th. Then you jump up to Racing Bulls with 36 points. I think Kick Sauber is going to pass Aston Martin and Haas this weekend.
It's a possibility.
That's my hot sports opinion.
I'll go one. I'll one up you, and you already know this prediction. I think we're going to see a Kick Sauber podium by the end of the year.
I know you said that, but I don't know if this is the race for that.
I just said by the end of the year. I didn't say...
I know. I'm just saying, if I'm going to put a race on it, I would say Monza is the race where that has the most possibility of happening. From just my understanding of the Kick Sauber cars, it's the fastest in speed traps. And if you're doing Monza, that's the temple of speed.
Yeah.
So
okay,
I don't know, maybe.
I want to show this to people. I can't even remember which. So excuse me as I switch through all these things. I can't remember. I couldn't remember which one I was on. Okay. So let me share. I have to share my screen on Discord so you can see this, because this is the race plot from the the Austrian Grand Prix. Let me share it with you real fast. Oh, we have a lot of people in here. I forgot that Brett and Sam were in our chat here.
They're very interested in what we're saying.
They are very interested.
Well, I mean, I do have a comment.
Yeah, I want to hear it. Welcome to Brett has entered the chat.
I've entered the chat, and this is just me thinking. You guys were talking about Mercedes building the car strictly for Verstappen because of his race. Yeah, because of his race style. But my question is, with Kimi Antonelli being a young driver, would it be beneficial for him to learn how Verstappen drives and drive the same way as him?
I know what you're asking, and that's what's happened with all the other. Like, they bring these rookies in and have them try it. Yeah, they just can't learn how to do it. Like I don't know that this may race plotting might show this, but I think he has a very specific style to how he likes the car. And like, there's an interview with Alex Albon, who was he did actually drive with Red Bull with Max Verstappen. I forget what years it was, but he talks about the fact that Max likes his car a very specific way, and it's very hard for other people to drive. It's not easy to learn. It's not forgiving, is I think the way he put it.
He talks about if you're playing, like, if you were to play a video game like Call of Duty or something. He says Max Verstappen would turn the sensitivity up to 100% on everything. That's how he drives. It's just everything at 100%. And what it really is Max Verstappen likes what they call a pointy car, is my understanding, where he likes to go into a corner balancing on a knife's edge from making the corner into going into oversteer. And oversteer is when the car turns, you lose the rear end and it oversteers around the corner. Whereas understeer would be where you push into the corner, where you lose the ability to control the car. Just you're turning the wheel and nothing's happening. But he likes the car to be very pointy, so it's going into oversteer. And apparently, it's very difficult for other drivers to adapt to that.
Drivers don't do that. It's not, and having everything turned up to 100% is
it's hard, right? So
it's like having your mouse sensitivity up to 9,000 and watching it fly all over the screen.
I can't.
So
what we're looking at here, and Brett, if you want to join in and see this, this is a race plot, and I am learning how to read this, and I'm learning that it's now my favorite thing to look at during a race and after a race. Okay.
We got all 71 laps.
All 71 laps. Well, 70, because one of them I think was they took it off. Start. Yeah. Because of Carlos Sainz's car, which
we'll talk about.
Double DNF Williams. Do we need to say anything else? Double DNF mechanical failures. Alex Albon had a great start. Carlos Sainz brake caught on fire in the pits after he couldn't start his car for the formation lap. End of discussion on Williams. We like Williams. I think they've thrown in the towel for 2025. I hope not, but I think they have.
The only other thing I'll say is watching Alex Albon's car explode during Canada was amazing.
It was something else, right? Like we saw his car explode, and then we see their cars actually explode internally, DNF in the race. It's just a terrible.
But Carlos did score points in the Canadian Grand Prix. He was 10th place.
That's true. But my fantasy team, I put Williams as my constructor, and boy, did I ever take a hit. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what we're looking at here, we're looking at these lines represent each driver through all 70 laps, and it is their delta to average. Okay, average being right here. So you can see like some drivers are below average here, some drivers are above average. And what this helps you see, so this is the important part. Obviously, these drops in lines right here, like when they drop down, there's your pit stops, right? So you're getting very slower. You're approaching back down to average because you're losing time in the pits, right? But what you're really looking at in these things is the trajectory of these lines, right? So if we look at, for example, if we look at Leclerc and we look at Hamilton here, you see Leclerc and Hamilton, they have pretty even pace on their second stint, right? Because
until they hit about lap 47,
right? And so the question is, why didn't why didn't Hamilton pit earlier? If you remember during the race, Hamilton was saying, why are we pitting now? It it seemed like he was arguing like, keep me out. But as a race engineer, they're sitting there looking at Leclerc's times continue to stay above average, and they're watching his lap times fall off. You know what I mean? So
flat.
Yeah, they're flattening out. So they're like, we need to pitch you because we need to have the fastest race, and you're falling off pace on the tires that you're on. Okay, so that's kind of what's interesting about this. You can see that Piastri is pretty even. Yeah, he's starting to catch him here at the end, and then you could see
he loses it.
Right at the end, he kind of fell off pace and didn't really catch Lando. Right. Now, this is the thing I want to point out because I believe in Kick Sauber. And the reason I believe in Kick Sauber is because Kick Sauber, which I didn't know this until like 3 weeks ago, okay? Kick Sauber has already put into place all of the personnel that they need for the Audi takeover next year. So they are essentially Audi right now in everything but name, right? So the sponsors are still Kick Sauber, but they are essentially Audi right now. They have Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg. Nico Hülkenberg, I think, as far as F1 experience goes, is only out experienced by Alonso on the grid. I think. Well, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So they have they have an awesome rookie. He's an F2 champion. Gabriel Bortoleto is a phenomenal rookie, and then which we haven't been able to see how good he is because he hasn't had the car yet. And then we have Nico Hülkenberg, who has the longest F1 history without having a podium, which is why I predict one of them will have a podium by the end of the year because they have pace. If you look at the chart here, you can see that they have pace over a lot of the field. And most importantly, this is the most interesting one I want you to look at here. Look at Gabriel Bortoleto here and look at his trajectory coming out of his last stint, okay? Yeah, if you look at this trajectory, if you were able to follow this trajectory straight up, you can see that he would have almost caught Russell in his car. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the right where he tables off is when the backmarker stuff started happening.
It wasn't the backmarker stuff. It was here. It was Alonso was ahead of him, and Alonso, who is on his management team, Gabriel Bortoleto's management team, was it was kind of one of the the master teaching the youngling how to race. So Bortoleto, I mean, they had a good time, and obviously they were very nice to each other afterwards. But it was a good battle to watch the two of them. But Fernando Alonso was not going to let Bortoleto pass him. And let's face it, Fernando Alonso, I feel like if anyone decides on the grid that they are not, that they will not be passed and cannot be, no one can get around them after they make that decision, it is Alonso. I think he has some of the craftiest racecraft in on the whole grid. So that's why the flattening of this happened to Gabriel Bortoleto. But he would have easily passed Lawson if he could have got around Alonso, and that would have put him in 6th place. And possibly could have caught George Russell with this trajectory, and that would have put him in 5th place. So there are a couple wrecks, and maybe I don't know exactly what their car, what characteristics in a track and what conditions they're looking for their car to be favored. But I feel like we're getting to the point where they're going to know what that is and they're going to start performing well. Now I want you to look up one thing. I want you to Google one thing because I'm still rolling on this train. Okay. Look up the Austrian Grand Prix fastest pit time. I want to know who it is.
Oh, I think I know why you're asking this. Austrian team standings. Let's see here. Austrian GP fastest pit times. Is this from? No, this is from this one. That can't be right.
Well, I'm curious now because I want to know.
The fastest was 2.1 seconds.
And who was it?
It was for McLaren for Oscar Piastri.
Okay, well, they had practice with Lando before. like they pitted right after another. Now keep going down the list.
Well, okay, I know where you're going with this, but second place is Racing Bulls for Lawson. They did a. I can't read this. I think it's 2.18. Oh, there, it's bigger. Yep. Also tied. I don't know why they put Lawson first, but Ferrari did a 2.18 for Hamilton.
That's really good.
Then Racing Bulls did a 2.24 for Hadjar. Alpine did a 2.24 for Colapinto. And to your point, Bortoleto had a 2.29, and Hulkenberg had a 2.30 in 6th and 7th.
They are fast on the pit stops.
Yeah, because one of the guys they got from Red Bull was like the pit engineer, right? I forget what his name is.
Yeah, I guess he did like pit practices and stuff. Jonathan Wheatley, that's their team principal. Yeah, apparently he was big into. He was the sporting director at Red Bull.
Right.
In charge of pit stops and was very serious about it. But their pit stops are good. Their strategy is on. Their strategy. I mean, look at their strategy here. Like, I don't know what happened to Nico Hulkenberg here. He kind of fell off at the end.
Well, they swapped him.
Oh, they did swap him. That's right.
Yeah, they did. They had Bortoleto go in front of him.
We should be able to see that. That swap happened.
I thought, no, it was towards the end.
I don't remember that.
I thought it was.
End. No, I think it's right here. You can see the swap right here. And then he's always ahead of Hulkenberg after that. Yeah, so it's about lap 28. Somewhere around 28, they swapped. And then he stayed ahead from then on. Which they should have swapped him. I mean,
it says better pace. Yeah, it happened midway through the race after the first round of pit stop. So yeah, it must have been
so right here you can see the switch there. Right here. Right there. So interesting stuff. I this race plot. The other interesting thing that you can see is let me see if I can find Albon here. Albon is a solid blue. Look at Tsunoda. I don't know what happened to Tsunoda. Oh, he had a penalty. That's right.
You can filter in the upper right.
Yeah, so let's look at Albon for. Thank you for pointing out how to use this.
I was doing it because I was like, I don't care about all these drivers.
So there you go. Unfortunately, you can't really see this here, but in certain races, like you can see when somebody has a mechanical problem, you can see their pace start to just fall off, and you're like, what is going on?
I mean, you can see that it falls off at the end of that lap, and then they pit him again. So
right, they pit him, and then he retires shortly thereafter.
Yeah, can you see where Sainz's car catches on fire? No, the answer to that is no.
Let's see. Hold on, I want to see if there's any flames on.
I don't think there should be anything.
I don't know why it did not put Carlos.
That's because he never
even started. Yeah,
that wouldn't show up at all.
What a
Speaking of Williams, to go back to the constructors standings, Williams is where it jumps up to and 5th place with 55 points, and then it's the massive gap.
Yeah.
To Red Bull at 162, Mercedes with 209, Ferrari passed Mercedes last race with 210 points.
Interesting.
And then another,
which is a good segue. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, another massive gap to 417 points from McLaren.
Yeah, McLaren is winning the Constructors' Cup. If they don't, then something terrible has happened. If they don't win,
their cars have just fallen apart. If that's
so the question is, going into the British Grand Prix, has Ferrari returned to form? Because they were the second place team, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
I mean, we can pull up the race plot again if you want to, but they were undoubtedly the second place team.
No, agree.
Are they the team to beat other than McLaren?
I think it depends on if it is cool or not.
Well, it wasn't cool at the Austrian Grand Prix.
I know, that's what I'm saying. For the British Grand Prix, they are predicting that it will be 20 degrees Celsius, which is pretty cool for race temperature.
Yeah. So you're saying that Mercedes will be a contender, possibly other cars will be a contender, but if it's hot, Ferrari will do well.
If in either condition, McLaren does well. The other thing that might
Right.
be a big problem is if it rains, and it might rain. It is the UK.
Yeah.
It rains there all the time. And if it rains, I don't know. It's like, okay, Max Verstappen. Like, you just have to say Max is in
Who
it,
knows?
then all of
Well,
a sudden.
Hamilton is good in the rain.
Well,
Verstappen's
and
good
the
in the
other day,
rain. Hamilton's good in the rain.
and Hamilton has podiumed at Silverstone since 2014.
And
Every time.
and won it last year.
And he won it last year.
In the Mercedes. Let's be
and the
clear about
Mercedes
that.
wasn't, well, out of curiosity, was last year the one that George got DQ'd for something as well?
No, that was Spa last year.
Was it Spa?
He won Spa last
think,
year. Got DQ'd.
I still think something happened with George Russell 2024.
Well, the rain is what I think wasn't it rain in qualifying last year?
I don't remember exactly.
I think it was at Silverstone. I think it was rain in qualifying in the British Grand Prix.
So last year George Russell did get pole position, but he retired his car due to a mechanical issue.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I think he was. I think he was winning it, and then had to retire the car.
Yeah, so I understand why people are putting Hamilton on the podium. I get that, and we'll get to predictions at some point. I'm not sure that I have my predictions in my head 100% yet. So.
And yes, it was raining during the race last year.
I remember for sure because I think Sonoda had issues with the rain. I remember. So other news, let's just mention this. We don't really need to mention Lance Stroll because he's not doing anything. But Alonso, the Aston is like right in the middle, as far as Aston goes.
Up until a couple races ago, I don't remember exactly which race Fernando Alonso got his first points, but he has now come back and is tied with Lance Stroll.
Yeah,
they both have 16 points on the season.
Didn't take long.
So, yeah, I mean...
Didn't take long. Other news, Alpine, they lost their CEO, their Renault CEO, quit, and they have somebody new. So the question is, are they going to put money in F1 or not? That's a big question for Alpine. I think if there's any team that is just going through so many personnel changes and issues, I mean, Red Bull is one of them. It's Red Bull and Alpine. I just feel like they can't put a team together to win some F1 races. And it's not, I mean, Pierre Gasly, I think, is a capable driver. I think if they put a car under him, he will do a good job. But
yeah,
he be able to.
During Austria, there was some radio messages from him during qualifying, and I think during the race as well.
Yeah, he was ticked off, wasn't he?
He was not good. Yeah, and then obviously they have Colapinto that tried to kill Oscar Piastri as a backmarker during that race, which I don't know what he was thinking exactly.
I mean, they did not adhere to the blue flags during the Austrian Grand Prix at the end of the race. There was there should have been penalties. I mean, 5 seconds for Colapinto knocking somebody who was in second place, a contender for the first place position at that point, like driving him off track when you're blue flagged. Yeah, 5 seconds. Come on, like that needed to be a harsher penalty on Colapinto.
And then speaking of penalties,
we better watch out because anybody who's Argentinian and listens to this podcast, they're going to come at us.
That's fair. No, I'm just saying not necessarily penalties against us, but penalties against Kimi Antonelli. He has a three grid penalty going in
a British Grand Prix.
Or a 3-position grid penalty. So it doesn't matter where he qualifies, which that could be. I mean, if the Mercs are fast, a 3-grid penalty kind of is terrible for him.
Yeah.
It might not be, but it could be real bad. So
we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah. I feel. But I mean, honest mistake. He owned up to it. He knew he
for
made
sure.
a mistake. Verstappen knew he made a mistake. So
no shade against him. I'm just saying that going into this race, if he gets pole, he's in third. So that will make it interesting from that perspective.
One more piece of news for Red Bull. There's discussions that Vettel may take over for Helmut Marko. So that's an interesting discussion. Since Vettel was Helmut Marko's protege, I think the only person he'll ever feel comfortable handing it off to is Seb. So that's an interesting piece of news. But
and I guess it's interesting because there was I don't remember which race it was, but there was talk of Horner going to Ferrari of all things.
Yeah, Ferrari.
So it's almost like the rats are deserting the ship at Red Bull.
Red Bull's just falling apart. Yeah, and Horner has been the team principal since the Red Bull team was formed. When they were purchased, when they purchased, it was Jaguar. And Red Bull purchased them, and Christian Horner has been the team principal since then. So it may be time, maybe, and the owner of Red Bull that started the whole thing, Dietrich Mateschitz, he's gone now. So I feel like Red Bull is kind of not the Red Bull it was, fortunately.
No, I don't. I agree, and I do think that there's a lot of strife there, and things are going to change. And I guess going back to Max Verstappen potentially leaving, but the question I have is, where does George Russell go if
question? It's a great question.
If Toto Wolff goes, hey George, you have to stay with Kimi. What does George do at that point? Because realistically, if Max leaves and goes, there's a seat at Red Bull.
Yeah,
that's available.
I can't see George Russell going to Red Bull. I don't even think Christian Horner would want him there. They don't seem to get along at all.
Between that and then there's a seats at Cadillac potentially, and I think Cadillac wants to announce things at the British Grand Prix. Something. I think they want to announce a driver. And I still think the other thing that kind of has happened since the last time we talked was Valtteri Bottas put out a very hilarious soft launch of him potentially taking a Cadillac seat on Instagram and other things. So I don't know if that's like locked in, or if it sounds like he's well down the road of that conversation. I also saw something this week that he might take for the rest of the season a seat at Alpine.
Yeah,
because they're not happy with
Colapinto.
And it's just like they've tried a couple people. So there's no telling where George is going to end up, but Cadillac is an option.
You got Bottas and Perez. I wonder also if he would try to make a move back to Williams. I don't know what the standing of Albon's and Sainz contract. I think Sainz was on a 2-year contract.
It would be very interesting if he took Albon's spot, because my understanding is those two are pretty good friends.
Yeah.
So coming in and taking his spot,
I don't know. Why would you take George Russell over Alex Albon? I honestly think that George Russell and Alex Albon are comparable racers. You put a good car under either one of them, they're going to do a good job. But the other name that's the top of that Cadillac rumors list is Sergio Perez. He wants to come back and get in a Cadillac car. So
he just is going to have all that sponsorship money. Like, he brings money
money
with him. And honestly, I was talking to somebody about this week, and I was like, I'm surprised like a Haas or an Alpine or someone backmarker didn't pick him up just for this season to get the money. Like to get the sponsorship for 1 year and have it come in the door. It's a little surprising, unless he was just like, no, I'm waiting until Cadillac type of thing. Or Red Bull's going to come back for me type of thing. I don't know.
And there's another possibility. Do they go back to Sergio Perez?
He had a 6-year contract. That he was the
still
under contract.
One who had some long-term success with the Red Bull car. Is the only one. So does it make sense to go back to him?
I don't know.
It's an interesting thought. I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
The last piece of news that I saw earlier today is in FP1, Yuki Tsunoda won't be driving his car. It'll be Arvid Lindbergh. Lindbergh? Arvid, the F2 driver.
Arvid Lindblad, yeah.
Lindblad.
Yeah.
He will be driving Yuki's car in FP1.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then just one more piece. During the Austrian Grand Prix in FP1, we had Alex Dunn driving Lando Norris's car.
Very well.
And he went P4.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's FP1, but generally speaking, when you see a rookie driver in an FP1, they are in the 15 to 20th position, somewhere down there. Being P4, it's pretty good.
Substantial for a free practice for a
And
rookie.
until you see that FP2, P4 was Lance Stroll, and then you're like, never mind. So,
but still, good for Alex
stat.
Dunn. Yeah, there was another. There was somebody in the Ferrari too.
Yeah, there was, and I don't recall who it was because they did end up in 15th position.
Yeah,
something of that nature.
Your typical practice.
Yeah, yeah. I forget, it was an F2 driver. Obviously, I just don't recall who exactly it was.
Not Drogovic. So. It's I can't remember his name. It's something
Begovic?
like that. It's close to something like that. Before we get on to the predictions, before we wrap this up with our predictions for the British Grand Prix, I have to say that you haven't seen the F1 movie yet?
I have not.
So I went to go see the F1 movie.
I think I know too much about it is the issue at this point too, that I'm not as excited as I was initially.
I was so excited to go see it. I made my wife and son go with me to go see it because we happened to be out of the area we were traveling, and I said, you don't have a choice. We're going to see this movie tonight. And we went to go see it. And I don't want to use the word disappointed because I'll be honest, like from a movie watching perspective, I enjoyed the movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's a Jerry Bruckheimer action movie, right? So it's entertaining. I think it's it's a fun story. Seeing everything that everything that is F1 in it. I mean, it's F1 the movie, so it's all about being around F1, seeing the drivers, the real drivers, the shots that they get in the car, the racing scenes, all very, very cool.
I think the point of that movie is to give everybody a taste in the United States of F1. And hopefully get them to watch Drive to Survive, and then get them to start watching races.
So but I'm gonna get
missing parts.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that because I think you're right. But what I really want to say is that as an F1 fan, somebody who's very into F1 and probably understands more than the average person when it comes to Formula One, I was pretty disappointed with the fact that listening to the interviews leading up to that, the director, leading up to me seeing the movie, the director said that he wanted to create the most authentic racing movie that has ever been seen.
Yeah. Did you enjoy qualifying during it?
They mentioned qualifying maybe once the whole way through the race. All of a sudden, they're just in the race and they're all gridded up and everything. And I'm like,
wait a second.
Are we going to pretend like qualifying doesn't exist? And like one time in the strategy session beforehand, before like the race, they're just like, hey, we qualified here and here. And that's the only time they ever mention qualifying. They don't drive in qualifying. They don't drive in free practice.
Qualifying is like one of the better things in F1.
It's crucial to the
it's exciting,
the whole buildup of the Grand Prix weekend. So, and that's my point. I think that's why I'm a little, and like I said, I don't want to use the word disappointed because I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was a fun story. It was great to watch. It was not authentic from an F1 perspective. It was authentic in that you could see the drivers, making the movements in the car. It was very much like you were in the car with them. You could see them pull the G's, pull them, you could see that. That was very cool. That was authentic. But all of the pieces around what should be happening and why it should be happening on a Grand Prix weekend, that was not authentic. And I think that was a little disappointing from my perspective as a hardcore F1 fan. So, which leads, I agree with you. I think that what that movie is trying to do is give people a taste of F1 so they'll become F1 fans. But the problem is that there's no basis in reality in some of the things that happened in the movie. And
I know, but that's
and so
I agree. I know what you're going with, and I think that's not the point of a teaser type of thing to get people butts in seats to watch F1. Right?
But don't you think if you watch that and then you go watch a race, I think people are going to be disappointed. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to go, this is boring. And there's so much that they're going to miss if they think that all it is just racing all the time. It's not racing. It's strategy. It's technical discussions. It's, timing. It's stats. There's so much more to it.
Engineering, like the engineering of the cars huge, and all that type of stuff is massive.
It's a team sport, that has so many more interesting parts to it than just sitting down and watching the race at the end of the day. And then qualifying and free practice, and what does that mean? And testing, and what does testing mean? And car designing and bringing upgrades to the car, which they do talk about in the movie. But it makes me sad because I think that it's setting people up for disappointment, which leads me to my next thought. Is I'm thinking to myself, if we really want to bring F1 to the big screen, why not just do like a Drive to Survive like movie that people can just go watch on the big screen? Like, why not bring a documentary to the big screen? It's exciting enough if you just tell it like it is, And don't I think a lot of the times they ham it up in Drive to Survive. They they kind of like paint people the way they want to paint them with editing and stuff like that. Kind of how I make myself look good on YouTube. The same type of thing, but.
No, I mean, that's why I think Max Verstappen has said that he hates Drive to Survive.
I'm sure, I wouldn't like it either because you don't, they ask you a bunch of questions, and then, if they ask you a bunch of questions and they only put one part in it, it looks like you said something for whatever reason they edit it. To make it look like it's not fair, as a person, it's not fair to be represented that way. But why not just say, we just want to tell the F1 story behind the scenes? Like, a Grand Prix weekend. We just want, start to finish, show a Grand Prix weekend behind the scenes for as a particular team, maybe as several particular teams, That is awesome to see on screen. The cars, for God's sake, they're going 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's exciting in itself. So I guess my point is why dramatize it and make it a movie? Just show it for what it is, because if you're trying to get fans and you show them the dramatized version in a movie, and then you show them a race or you show them a qualifying session, I feel like they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
No, I don't disagree. I think that I sent you an Instagram reel today of, two people sitting down to watch their first F1 race, Austria Grand Prix, after watching the movie.
Yeah.
And I think Charles Leclerc came on the radio at one point and said, I'll go at plan C. And the guy goes, oh, that's for chaos. It's about to get crazy. It's like, no, it's just what tires they want type of thing.
Like probably, like a medium, hard medium, probably. So.
Yeah. So.
As not a fan of F1, I find qualifying more exciting than the race.
Well, it is. So next year, Brett, we're going to watch the Monaco Grand Prix qualifying and then the race. And you'll really hate the race at that point.
Yeah.
I bet I will.
Because Monaco Grand Prix has no passing. It's literally whatever you qualify, that's how the race is going to end.
That's how the race ends.
They tried to fix it this year and it just didn't work. It made it even more boring. They made it worse. Again. Yeah.
But you're going to end the way you qualified unless your car doesn't make it. That's the only thing that could happen that would change the order. You wreck or you DNF because your car blows up. That's it. That's the only two things that could happen in that race.
I mean, I'm from an overall F1, race. Like, if you qualify and then you make it through lap 1 and there's no rain, that's just about how it ends up almost every time.
It's not true. Yeah,
it's not true.
Every race that I've watched.
How many have you watched?
Probably 5.
I was gonna say it's true of the Monaco Grand Prix, but here's the problem.
Going pole to pole doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen.
It doesn't. But what has been happening is that right now,
but lap 2 to the end finish happens more often, I bet, than pole to pole.
That's fair. And what also is happening right now is McLaren is so much faster than everybody. If they get ahead, they are gone. Like if you that race plot Adam was showing, like nobody was going to catch them. They were just
going to catch them.
Absolutely gone.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing going to happen.
But the exciting part about that race was that they were battling each other. And so if you have two people that are way ahead of everybody battling each other and they wreck, it's a huge deal, right? It's a huge deal.
And they almost did. Piastri locked up going into one of the turns and like almost took him out. And you're like, ah!
And he apologized. He did say that was they actually told him, it was interesting. McLaren actually came on the radio and said that was a marginal attempt. Please don't do that again. And he apologized at the end of the race. He was like, yeah, I know that was a little bit of a hopeful dive bomb. Yeah. So
but I mean, there's always interesting things going on because inevitably the problem with F1 is it's not always about the people at the front of the race too. There's things happening midfield and towards the back that are interesting because those points matter as well from a constructor standpoint and from who's doing what. So sometimes that's important too. It's just not as exciting as it's kind of a weird situation. It's where it does matter, so you pay attention to it, but it's not like, oh God, if you're not first, you're last type of thing. So, but like for example, the fact, man, when which race was that? It was the Spanish Grand Prix where Nico Hülkenberg passes whatchamacallit, Hamilton on the last lap. It was like lost my mind. Like, holy shit, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
So things like that, when they happen, first that restart, the rest of that race was fairly boring until the restart happened, and it's like then it was madness.
And then you have stuff like last year with Sao Paulo, where Max Verstappen goes 17th to 1, 17th to 1, and then on top of that, you have double Alpine finish, which brought them from like the back of the constructors. I forget what place they moved way up in the constructors standing, and we're talking like millions more dollars for their team because they podiumed in that race. They double podium. So
that race was wild too.
It's unfortunately one of the things that I think. So tell me who came in third place in the Indy 500 this
year. I didn't watch the Indy 500.
I was there, and I don't remember. Like, I honestly don't remember who came in third place in the Indy 500. Yet, almost from memory, we've been quoting the podiums from the last 2 or 3 races. You know what I mean? Because the 1 through 10 is as important, as first place in F1.
For the record, Pato Award came in third.
Okay, well that makes sense. I remember him being up there with Pillow.
Right.
I know Pillow won, but I don't know who won. Who was in third. I don't know who was in second place. Who was in second place?
David Malukas.
David Malukas. That's right. He was leading until so I can't remember that off the top of my head because in the Indy 500 everybody only cares who wins, right? They only care who wins. But in F1, we care about the points from 1 to 10.
I care about the fact that Carlos Sainz got 1 point in 10th place for the Canadian Grand Prix. Like, I know that he got 10th place because
we also care that he double DNF'd in the Austrian Grand Prix, which is a huge deal. It's a huge deal from a constructor's standpoint. So that's unfortunately though we've been victims the last couple years of team and the end of last year was a little different, but of teams that just run away with the victory. 2023 is a prime example. 2024 kind of, the end of the year was a little different. And then 2025 we have McLaren essentially running away. And in previous years it wasn't even like a double, like, Max Verstappen versus Sergio Perez. It's like Max Verstappen is winning the Drivers' Championship. You know what I mean? Red Bull is winning the Constructors' Cup. So last year, the fact that we had McLaren win the Constructors and Max Verstappen win the Drivers' Championship, that was a big deal. But we're going into an era of new regulations, and it's not just a change here or there. This is a whole new set of regulations. So we don't know what's going to happen next year.
Yep.
It could be any team. It could be any team. And all the teams that are setting up the groundwork right now or have the groundwork set to be a good team in the future could be contenders next year. I think you'll see. Here's my predictions. I think you'll
shuffle a little bit. You'll
see Williams start to do really well. You'll see Aston start to do really well. You'll see Kick Sauber start to do really well. I think those three in particular are set up to do very well with the regulation changes. I think we'll see Mercedes continue to do well. And I like Ferrari. I think you will see them fall off because I don't think that they will do well with the regulation changes.
I think Red Bull's going to fall off. I think Racing Bulls might fall off.
Yeah,
possible.
I agree.
And I think Haas is not going to go anywhere.
No, and Alpine
is going to. They might be not a team next year. It's very possible. Like it's very possible they get sold and end up being Porsche or somebody.
And honestly, we don't even know what Cadillac's going to do. We have no idea. Yeah. We don't know how McLaren is going to do because. Yeah. McLaren is obviously putting all their eggs in this year's basket,
Well, but we don't know that.
True.
Their car just might be good enough that they don't have to do anything else at this point. But I don't think they're gonna. I think that what's interesting. I think last year, Zach Brown came out and said that we're ahead. We didn't expect to win the constructors this year. That wasn't
they were ahead of schedule.
So they're thinking of 2026. So it's kind of interesting to see where they go.
And they're big too. That's the other thing to remember is that McLaren is big. They're a big race team with lots of different cars and lots of different series.
Part of that $12 billion industry that I was reading about
that the UK gets from F1. So.
Yeah, just F1. Well, I wonder if I don't know how they segregate that with like McLaren doing all these different kinds of racing. Aston Martin does different kinds of Aston Martin put their first whatchamacallit? What's the 24-hour race? Le Mans. Hypercars in this year. So
we should say it like
Le Mans.
Like people actually are supposed to pronounce it, not like American. Le Mans.
The Le Mans.
All right, we have anything else anybody wants to mention before we get into predictions? Because we've really gone on a tangent here tonight. This is a long.
Well, I mean, we had weeks to catch up on. So
that's true. That's very true. So we're going into the British Grand Prix. We haven't even had a free practice session. We're like.
Wait, I got something else. I know I'm going back to. Do you have anything else to say? As not an F1 fan, I don't care about anything you just said. I want to see an exciting race, and I think the qualifying is more exciting than racing.
That's fair. And what could be interesting is if it rains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it rains, if they do a restart, if they do like in my opinion, the reason that Americans don't like F1, like the standard American, is because it's not exciting. Yeah, it can be totally boring, and people are excited about the 8th and 9th place finishers.
So here's my question for you.
And if you're not first, you're last. I'm sorry,
how is NASCAR more exciting? I guess is my question.
I don't know.
That's my thing. Like NASCAR is fucking boring. Like.
I think NASCAR's the illusion of they're so close together and there's always like bumps and
Rubbin's racing.
Yeah, Rubbin's racing. The illusion of they're riding on the edge, where in F1 it's just not there. Even though that they are. They're just barely away from a lockup and spinning out and doing all kinds of stuff and riding on that edge of speed. They're the 20 fastest cars out there. I get it, but that's why it's not exciting in America.
It's not exciting because they're too good. Is the thing. It's so, to me that's impressive. They're all so good that they're not making mistakes. But the crazy thing is they are making mistakes. It's just it's hard to see unless you like looking at data. Is the truth. And I'm a data geek, so when we have our F1 open, you can see on the streams, we have all sorts of data points that we're sitting there looking at, because that's as interesting as the race itself to us.
Well, and I look at F1 as a giant science fair project too, because I think more than half of it is building your car, because it's not a spec series. It's you have to build and figure out how to do things. And quite frankly, that's why McLaren has such a huge edge right now. They figured out some stuff that other races, they're ahead of everyone right now. And in some ways, I like it because it's kind of the edge of cheating is what it really is. Because what you're trying to do is find all the ways to make your car faster that are within the rules until they change the rules, because that's what they do. So the race is the product of that, which I agree with you. It can not be interesting. Like it can be very boring from that perspective. Because like there's been races this year where I've gone, man, this was boring. There's like nothing going on in it.
Suzuka,
Monaco, Suzuka for sure. And that there's things that I think it was Fernando Alonso said, like, if we went back to the cars are really long and wide now, like if they went back to shorter, narrower cars, you would see a lot more. And that's what Formula E is: shorter, narrower cars. They pass each other so much. Like it's more interesting to watch from that perspective. So I don't think they're going to do it, but I would love to see the specifications to change in that way to make it more interesting.
The cars are smaller.
Yeah, but like not by that much.
True.
And they're not going to get faster because technically right now, like Indy cars are faster than F1 cars. They're like 20 miles an hour faster on average than an Indy or than an F1 car. But they're also going around in circles, so it's like
sometimes. I mean, they're racing on circuits too.
True. So,
but if they would offer coverage on IndyCar like they offer on F1, I would probably watch IndyCar. But I can't stand
that's fair.
The commercials and the side by sides and all that sort of stuff. It makes me crazy.
Is it not on multi-viewer?
It is. I've never tried to watch it on multi-viewer. I probably should try.
I think
to watch
you probably
it.
have.
I know enough about IndyCar that I could watch it and get into it. The other thing is like I mean, I'm not knocking tracks and everything, but like I don't want to watch them race at Mid-Ohio. Come on, like it's like 4 hours away from here.
I didn't realize I didn't realize the WEC was on here too. On multi-viewer. Sorry.
Yeah, they have. I think there's a lot of stuff on there. I actually have it open right now.
There's only 3 that I see.
So IndyCar, NASCAR, they say WEC most of the time.
Yeah, WEC.
Or WEC. NASCAR. I tried to get into NASCAR, guys. I'll be honest with you. I tried so hard to get into NASCAR. I tried to like it, and I just can't like it. I can't like it.
Can't like it?
Nope.
All right. So getting into predictions. Let's start things off. Hold on. Before we start, here is for Saturday, for FP3 in qualifying. The minimum temperature is 15 degrees Celsius, which is 59 degrees Fahrenheit.
Interesting.
And the maximum temperature is 20 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. There is a 60% chance of rain on Saturday.
Really?
60%.
And what's the chance on Sunday?
The chance of rain on Sunday is also 60%.
Very interesting.
It will be slightly cooler in that it'll be 19 degrees Fahrenheit.
What is going
Celsius.
on? That is so cold.
So it is 66 degrees. It's not. Every time I go to the UK, it's in the 60s, basically.
Okay. All right. So I want you to do your prediction first.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want to do pole and then podium? Or pole or front row? How do you want for qualifying?
I want pole position, and I want podium 1, 2, 3.
Okay, well, this is hard. Like this is the hardest. Realistically, I can't not say that pole is going to be one of the 2 McLarens because I think that's if it's dry, that's the way it's going to be, right? Mm-hmm. If it's wet, that's all bets are off at that point. Like I don't know. That's when you
have a 60% chance of rain. You have a 60% chance of rain, and it's cold. So who are you putting on pole position?
Fuck me. I'm putting Oscar Piastri on pole.
Oscar Piastri on pole. And who is finishing 1, 2, 3 for you?
1, 2, 3. I think that Oscar's. This is real hard. I can't do the whole British bias thing. I think Oscar Piastri is going to take first.
Okay.
I think that George Russell might take second, and I'll put Lando in third.
Brett?
I think it's cold enough that Mercedes is going to be up there. So George might take pole, and I could be way wrong at that point.
Who do you got on pole, Brett?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I think I'm gonna go with Verstappen taking pole.
You like to pick Max.
It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain during qualifying.
And who's your podium 1, 2, 3?
Verstappen, Russell. No, Verstappen, Piastri, Russell.
Interesting. All right, I am putting George Russell on pole.
Oh, okay. We're all going to pick somebody else different, which works.
And
get it right.
My podium finish 1, 2, 3 is going to be. I think Lando is going to take home.
British bias.
Yep, Lando. And I'm gonna go Lando, Oscar, George Russell.
So here's my question.
None
of us put Hamilton up there. Nobody.
Yeah, I wanted to put Hamilton up there.
I think that the
9 Breezes in a row he's been on the podium. So
yeah, but here's the deal. I just don't think the Ferrari, like, we know that when it's cold outside, it's supposed to
Mercedes,
be that Mercedes does well. So I can't not put George Russell up there.
I agree.
I actually would consider putting Antonelli up there if he didn't have a 3-place grid penalty.
I was going to say there was a thought there as well. So so we've done that. Here's my next question: how many points does Kick Sauer score?
Oh, I that's a good question. So I actually think Kick Sauber will be in somewhere 4th to 6th. I think they're going to be right behind.
You think they're ahead of Ferrari and ahead of
because
Max?
I don't think Ferrari. I think Ferrari has shown that they do well in the heat, and I think Ferrari will probably tear up at Monza this year, But I don't think.
So you say 4th to 6th. Do you think both of them are going to score? And
I think there's barring any mechanical. I think you have a clean race where they don't get completely screwed. I think they'll both finish in the top 10. I really do. I
agree with top 10. I think
believe that Kick Sauber is going to be doing very well by the end of the year. I think they're going to be a contender by the end of the year.
I'm putting them 9th and 10th.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think Williams will do well too this race. I think you're going to see Red Bull, Ferrari. I think you're going to see the Red Bulls, Aston, and Ferrari fall off. I think you're going to see Williams and Kick start to come in a little.
So
I could be
okay.
I could be completely wrong.
That was going to be my next question: is what do you thought Williams, if they'll bounce back or if
I think they will. I think the high temperatures seem to be hard on certain cars, and I think Ferrari, Williams, those cars don't do. Mercedes obviously don't do as well. So, but that's I don't know. We'll see.
And then last question that I have: where does Max finish if you don't think he's in the top 3 and you think Kick Sauber?
I think Max is gonna struggle this race. I think we're gonna see him start to fall off. So
unless it rains.
He'll probably be in the top 10. Yeah, if it rains, he'll definitely do well. If it rains, if it's like rain, we might see Hamilton on the podium. So Hamilton and Verstappen on the podium.
So for the record,
but you have my prediction.
For Sunday, it says it's about 5 millimeters throughout the day, which is nothing. Yeah. So it's just, that's one of those, it gets the track wet. It's annoying. They have to put inners on because they're sliding around like idiots.
Yeah.
And then they have to pit 14 times to switch tires, which just makes it interesting from a perspective of who screws up their pit stops.
I'm curious too, like what is since we're almost done previewing, like what's the British Grand Prix strategy on a non-race day?
What do you mean?
Tire wise, like
the tire just on a non-wet day is what you mean.
Let's look at 2020.
Well, what was it last year? Well, it rained last year.
It rained last year. That's why I don't want to look at last year.
But you can't look at 2 years ago because the tire compounds are different.
I know.
So I don't know is the answer. I have to wait to see what. I don't even know if they've set what Pirelli tire compounds are going to be for this weekend because it is colder. So they might go even like to the softest settings again, like they did for.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, when did they do that? They didn't do it in Spanish.
They normally talk about it after FP 1, 2, and 3.
Well, no, they'll do it at they'll say what the tire compounds are for FP1 because they'll set it for it. But then you can compare it to what they were previously at that point. So I don't know. And then here's the last question: how much longer does Yuki have? I think he's hosed.
I don't think so. I mean, if they see something in Lindblad this weekend, then maybe he is. But I think that Yuki has proven his worth enough that they're going to give him some grace in that seat. That's my thoughts.
Didn't Lindblad cause the giant wreck in FP2?
I don't know if he caused it, but he was a part of it.
He was in it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he was the one who
he was inverted.
I think he did the barrel roll,
yeah.
But I think that was somebody else ran into him. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I can't remember. He was part of it, but I don't think he caused it. I could be wrong.
What did our American guy do?
Crawford was 4th. I think he got promoted to 3rd after a disqualification. I think Dunn got disqualified. Yeah, Dunn got disqualified from F2 for plank wear. And then Crawford got promoted to the podium, but wasn't able to celebrate it because it.
Sure. Because after the fact.
Yeah.
I need to watch the highlights of that race. I haven't done it yet. I know you said you watched it, but
yep.
I do get into the F2 stuff a little bit.
Me too.
I dabble. I am not going to go. I don't think I'm going to go to the Formula E race in London.
Oh, you're not. You've changed your mind, huh?
Well, I looked to see how much it would cost to change my ticket to fly on Friday, get there on Saturday morning, and then go see the Saturday race. Mm-hmm. And it cost $1,000 to change my ticket. So I was like, okay, cool. So I could go on Sunday. There's 2 races. There's qualifying on Saturday and a race, and qualifying on Sunday and a race.
Yeah.
But I have some things I want to do on Sunday, so I was like, I'll just not. So
well, we can still go to the U.S. Grand Prix, maybe.
We need to figure that out sooner rather than later.
That's for sure. Well, we'll talk about it.
Just from the perspective of, sorry.
No, let's just wrap it up. So, anything else from you, Mr. Slide? Anything else from you, Brett?
I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong. I actually would like to see Lewis Hamilton on the podium just to keep that streak alive, but I just don't see it happening. So,
yep, we'll have to wait and see. With time will tell. Saturday qualifying, we'll be doing a watch along. Look us up on Twitch. Sunday Grand Prix, we'll be doing a watch along. Look us up on Twitch. The name is Soup SS0OP. I'm Soup, that's Slide. This is Soup and Slide Watch Formula 1. Brett, thanks for joining as well. We will catch you guys on the next episode. Later, fellas.
Cheers.